Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. And as you can tell, we're not in a movie theater.
Bum, bum, bum.
We're actually in one of our spare bedrooms. We do have a house, as opposed to we live in our car and sneak into theaters.
Mm-hmm. Sneak?
I don't know. Yeah, we pay the theater. We pay to watch a movie. I know. Isn't it crazy?
It is our guilty pleasure.
It is our guilty pleasure. We go to a lot of movies, which is why we make reviews. And we usually, because you usually forget about the movie so quickly.
Yeah.
We make the videos in the movie theater or in the parking lot of the movie theater or in the car when we get from the theater. This time we're going to make a review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which we wanted to see in the movie theater, but we never got a chance to see it. And I think it went by pretty quick, right? I mean, I don't think we got a chance to see it.
It was in there, but you kept saying, no.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't want to watch it,
Whatever.
but we ended up finally watching it on our small little, in our home theater.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna make a review about this and our thoughts. So tell us about the plot of Once Upon a Time
Oh my gosh.
in
the
Hollywood.
The bad thing of watching movies at home is
So you're on your phone.
lots of distractions, and I am on my phone a lot.
Well, you can tell the plot. The plot is basically the story of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, which is I forget what I know. Cliff Booth is his stuntman. Brad Pitt.
Is it Frank?
No, something. Anyway, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is an aging star who we start off in the 50s of the westerns, and now by 1969 he is becoming a washed-up star, and his personal stunt double is also kind of becoming a washed-up star towards their end of their career. So you get that story, and in between the story is the fact that they live next door to Roman Polanski and his wife
Sharon Tate.
Sharon Tate. So this movie is set in between 1950 and August 8th of 1969, which is something historical happened that night. Majorly historical, basically the end of the 60s, because of what happened with that particular night. I thought the movie was photographed beautifully, like every single Quentin Tarantino film. I mean, he hits all of the beats of a Quentin Tarantino film. It is a little boring though at the beginning. And I think that's why when the movie is going around, I mean, there's a lot of scenes that are beautifully shot. The scenery he shoots on film, so he doesn't do hardly any special effects. He doesn't, the only special effects he did was inserting Leonardo DiCaprio into the Great Escape. That was a special effect. And I think he also inserted him in another, FBI, which is what they were watching. This is the only kind of special effects or CGI that he did. Other than that, it's all practical effects, practical thing, and filmmaking, kind of like old style filmmaking. It used to be, and that's what he does. And he does it very well. And it's set in his universe, and whatever his universe is. So it's beautifully done, beautifully acted. This is the first time Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are in a movie together. Did you know that? Yeah. So you have these two guys, which is funny because these two guys are playing washed-up stars, but they are actually in their height of their career right now. And most of the time he gives washed-up actors or actors that are kind of beyond their career, like Pam Grier and John Travolta, gives them a really juicy meaty role to give them great material and show them, hey, this guy's a great actor. You should pay attention to him again. And he's done that time and time again. And he does that, with Bruce Dern. I think he did that with The Hateful Eight, which I didn't see Hateful Eight. I mean, out of 9 movies, I think I've seen 5 of Quentin Tarantino's films, and I think you've seen one more than I have, because I think you saw Django Unchained, and I didn't see that one. And did you see Inglourious Basterds? Because I didn't see it.
I think I did, but I don't remember it.
Okay, so the this movie at the beginning and pretty much all the way through the first 1.5 to 2 acts I was bored out of my mind. But then the movie takes into another special effects. And we have our little one over here who is trying to crash our video. And he's backtracking and closing the door.
Close the door, please.
Close the door, Nicholas. Nicholas, close the door.
Continue.
Oh, God. I'll close the door because he doesn't want to close the door. He doesn't know how to close doors. We have to teach him how to close doors. What do you think?
I know. Might be too late.
What, to teach him how to close doors? I know, right?
Teach, old dogs new
Old
tricks.
dog new tricks? Or old kids new tricks?
Yeah.
Anyway, so, where was I? So we were bored out of the first...
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty bored by it. I was more interested in the fact that they were trying to. I know that there was two stories going on. There was the story about, like you said, the of this aging actor, and then there's the story about the Sharon Tate murder and the people.
Well, Sharon Tate's story. Sharon Tate
Yeah.
at that time.
That is true. So I was assuming that it was going towards the actual facts of what actually happened, but it didn't.
Okay, and here is why I wanted to make the video, because like I said, we normally don't make videos, and it's not, and when we seen other movies that we didn't make any videos after we done the channel, like we saw Lexi, we didn't decide to do a video of it. But I wanted to make a video because I think this is a very interesting scenario here. What he did in this movie is brilliant. What Tarantino did in this movie is brilliant, and I'll explain why. Towards the end, and if you've seen the movie, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen it, watch it. Watch it not knowing what happens. So, giving you fair warning, what I'm about to say, it's what happened in the movie. The brilliancy of what he did, to me, is that he took historical facts that you knew, or you had a good idea of what they were. There are a couple of historical facts before we get to the final historical fact, where these two are fictional people, but the Tate people, the people next door to him, are all real. The people
There
next...
actually were a little bit of truth, because there was the actual show, Lancer.
Yeah.
There's an actual show, FBI or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was like bits and pieces of truth and intertwined.
But the interesting part when one of them is Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt's character, decides to give a hitchhiker a ride, Pussycat. And he goes to that ranch. And that was one of the most tense, and it was a very tense-filled scene.
Yeah, because I was assuming
because you don't know what's going to happen.
He was going to find a dead man, I
He was
thought.
either going to find a dead man, they were going to kill him.
They were going to kill him.
But none of that stuff actually happened in real life, though. But in real life, one of I think it was a stunt person, did give a ride to one of the Manson people and went in there and tried to warn him that these people were taking advantage of him. And that person was killed later on.
Which person? The person that lived at the ranch?
Cliff
stunt person?
The stunt person, which is maybe Cliff Booth. That stunt person did go and gave a ride, similar to what happened in the movie, where he's wondering where this person is and he doesn't know, and these people are taking advantage of him. Not 100% what is being portrayed there, but there are bits and pieces of reality in that moment. And that was the most tense scene of the whole movie. It is the most tense scene of the movie. And I thought that was brilliant. That's when I got hooked.
Yeah, I think that was when I started really paying attention, because I was thinking,
Because the
this
first
guy
hour and a
kinda-
half.
This guy's kind of stupid to go in there, because he is surrounded by a bunch of people. But then again, he did have some
He had
combat skills, because he did beat up that guy with the.
Well, he had
When he came out and there was a flat tire and he was like.
Well, yeah, I mean the character, the Cliff Booth character, basically, again, it's kind of based loosely on a lot of different people. I mean, they actually maybe based a little bit on Robert Wagner. because he got accused of killing his wife.
Mm.
And Robert Wagner, Natalie Wood,
Yeah, true.
died. He was never convicted of it.
Is it Robert Wagner?
I believe it was Robert Wagner, yeah. I could be wrong, but it was based on somebody real.
No, not Robert Wagner.
I think it is Robert Wagner. I don't know.
Natalie Wood and... No. I thought Robert Wagner was the guy who... No. Anyway. Okay.
So anyway, it is based on and he's a World War II veteran, I think they said, right? So he was a veteran and a combat veteran. So he knew how to take care of himself. He knew how to take care of himself so much that he kicked Bruce Lee's ass almost.
Well, he did get taken by surprise by Bruce Lee the first time around, but then he was
because he was expecting a kick, and then he said try it again, and then this is what happened to him. He threw him into a car.
Yeah.
So here's a guy that kicked Bruce Lee's ass in a fight.
Yeah.
So, but again, this guy could have died. There were more of them than it was of him. So he could have died at that point. So all of these things are sprinkled in there. They go into Europe. He does some stunt work for Leonardo DiCaprio's character. So now we get into the August 8th. And this is where I think the brilliancy of what this movie is and how good it does. So we had the most tensed film, the most tense scene in the movie already happened and nothing happened. Now, this is kind of like you ever heard of Chekhov gun?
No.
So Chekhov gun basically says, if you're in a story, if you're going to have a gun, that gun has to go off. If you introduce it, it has to go off. So here he does subvert, completely changes your reality and changes completely everything in here because this is Natalie Wood's murders. I mean, not Natalie Wood's. Sharon Tate's murders and what happened that night is real.
Mm-hmm.
And it is introduced down to the narrator telling you everything that happened that day, chronicling what is happening and being historically factual of what is happening to the fictitious character and to the real characters. And what I like about this is if you like any Quentin Tarantino film, there is going to be a shit ton of violence. And it is building up after you had that release of that tension. It is now building up because the characters go to the house. They stand outside with their piece of shit car, making noises. Leonardo DiCaprio's character hears it, comes outside and runs him off. Mm-hmm. So now this is different. They go outside and they park the car in the outside. They discuss that they need to kill the people inside, but then they discover who the Leonardo DiCaprio character was. So now they changed their mind and said, fuck it, we're going to kill him and show him because he represented violence in the 50s or something similar to that effect. So now they're going in. Ethan Hawke's and Uma Thurman's daughter's character was the one that ran away. The one that said, I lost my knife. I need to go back to the car.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so she takes the car and she runs away. The real person actually stayed behind in the car. The one that happened in real life stayed behind in the car, but she was afraid to run away. Because she didn't want to be there. She wanted to take off. In this reality, she takes off. In this reality, they had gone drinking because he had basically fired Brad Pitt's characters. He couldn't afford him anymore. But because they're all buddies, they decided to go drinking, come back home, and celebrate watching something. And he has the cigarette that one of his characters gave to him.
Right.
Which is laced with LSD.
Right.
So again, I think it was hitchhiking when he picked up Pussycat or whatever. That's when he picked up the laced cigarette. So Brad Pitt's character is at the house with the lovely dog. It's a great dog. And great scenes with the dog early on. And which you don't see anything really about the dog. You don't know anything about this dog. He is at the house as well. And they break into the house.
Yeah.
Now, here's what the funny thing is. This is what the great, well, not the funny, but this is what the great thing about it is. You're expecting this much violence usually in a Quentin Tarantino film. And I totally forgot about that at that point. Because we had not seen the violence yet.
True.
There was no violence all the way until that point.
True.
And the moment where there was the most violence in real life was the Sharon Tate murders. That was supposedly, through the history, one of the most violent scenes ever seen in a crime scene. But these people changed their mind. And they went to the other house. A house. Now get this. This is how comical this is. So a house that had a dog. A pit bull. I think he was a pit bull. A house where there was a World War II combat veteran who was a stuntman who knew how to fight, who beat up Bruce Lee's ass. Mm-hmm. Had a guy, had a fiery Italian wife,
a flamethrower.
Had a guy who had a flamethrower and knew how to use it.
Yeah.
That's the house that they break into instead of breaking into the house where they would have been successful.
Yeah.
And that's when the violence happens. So it's almost like you're expecting the violence to be and feel sorry for what happened with Sharon Tate. And then it's deflated into a comical moment filled with violence. That is brilliant.
Yeah, plus
because
it even got justice because it was, the true story with Sharon Tate. I mean, they went to prison and.
Yeah, but these people got killed.
These people got what
murdered. They got what they
Yeah.
had coming to them. But Quentin Tarantino used his own history in what he's going to probably do, violently wise. And at that point, you're I was feeling a little bit like, oh shit, this is the moment that they killed Sharon Tate.
Yeah.
And I was going like, oh God, this is going to be bad. This is going to feel so sad.
Now she's almost about to have a baby.
And people there's completely innocent people. These fucking assholes are going to go into a completely innocent person's house. They had nothing to do with them. But they changed their mind. And they go to the next house. They go to the other house.
So it basically showed an alternate universe, basically.
But this is not the first time Quentin Tarantino has done this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because in Django Unchained, which I've never seen, but I read up on this. What's his name? The guy who did Ray.
Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx character blows up a plantation full of slave owners. He kills all the slave owners and he frees the slaves, right?
Yeah.
That's not what happened.
Oh.
I
didn't realize it. I didn't realize it was based off of a true story. I thought it was.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily based off of a true story, but these things never happened.
Oh. Well.
Inglourious Bastards. At the end of Inglourious Bastards, they end World War II by killing Hitler in a movie theater with flamethrowers, similar to what they got him. So is Quentin Tarantino putting together a universe that is maybe filled with time travelers that know exactly what happened and they're changing history?
I know at the end it was kind of cool because, Sharon Tate did survive and the people who lived with her in that house too survived.
And now he might be coming back as an actor.
Yeah, and then he gets invited over to her house, and everything was happy, So.
Well, it's a happily ever after to a story that didn't have a happily ever after ending. So it is a fairy tale, a Hollywood fairy tale, if you may. So but I think that part is real. The problem is, I don't know if I could put this movie ahead of other movies that I thought were really good this year or last year, 2019, like Ford versus Ferrari, or Bernadette movie.
I think I would have had to have seen this one in a theater just because I would have had less distractions, and I think.
But I don't think even with all of the
I
distraction.
really would have been focused on it, and I think I would have gotten a lot more.
But I don't think there was much more to catch on it. I don't think I think these were scenes that were done stylistically, and it was indulgence.
Well, you were asking me about the one guy who I said, "Well, did you know that Al Pacino was in there?" And you didn't even.
No, I knew Al Pacino was in there.
Oh, and then you were like, "Well, what's the significance of that?"
Well, I didn't know
was
because
like,
you told me that his character was whatever Schwartz, whatever his name.
Schwartz or whatever.
Yeah.
Schwartz.
But I didn't know who that person was supposed to be. I thought you were referring that person was supposed to be significant in history.
No, just that he
Oh,
was in the
I
beginning.
knew that he was
I
in
didn't
it.
realize that was Al Pacino.
Oh, I knew that was Al
And
Pacino.
then
I knew it was Al Pacino the moment I saw it. He
and
came
then
out.
sent him over to that one guy, and the guy wanted him in Italy, and you were like, "Well, what was the problem with that?" And I said, "Well, because he didn't want to do a spaghetti western."
Yeah, because he thought he was an A-lister still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But-
I got the gist of everything that was happening. I think whether I was in a movie theater or not in a movie theater, I don't think I don't think anything that happened before the Spod Ranch, before we got to the ranch, everything before that was establishing Sharon Tate and establishing these people. That was it. And there was any like. There was really no, whether you're paying attention 100% to it or not, I don't think it had any bearing on the film. I mean, they could have been speaking Chinese, and it didn't really. Because I think at the point when he gets to that compound or to that ranch, that's when the tense begins. That's when it starts. That's when it just gets laser focused on that particular, on what's going to happen. And that's when the Chekhov gun will go off or not go off. Because he had introduced everything. So it had to, it didn't go off. The gun doesn't go off. The Chekhov gun doesn't go off, I guess, in storytelling. But it is all of his stories or just one little detail? Because everything, had he not been there at the time, had he not come out and confronted these people, had these people not taken it so seriously about going after him and changing their mind, then history would be completely different. That's interesting, though. And is he doing that, and is he showing you how things could change by just one action?
I think, though, wasn't in real life, they went and attacked that particular house because somebody used to live there?
Which house?
Sharon Tate's house?
Yeah. Well,
somebody used to live there that I don't remember what I think he was.
He was a record producer but he was a record producer or something to that effect that was actually associated with the Beach Boys, Dennis Wilson. So he was introduced to that guy. That guy blew him off.
Why is that? I even, the history itself. Why did they even attack Sharon Tate to begin with? I still don't really.
Well, I think what happens
why they went to that house, even though that guy didn't even live there anymore. So why?
I think what happens is he goes into the house. So in the movie, you do get Charles Manson visiting the house, which in real life, although it didn't happen at the time that it said it happened, it did happen. And not everybody that is associated in there did interact with him in the way that they interacted, but 75% of it is real. So he goes to the house, he tries knocking in, trying to get to whatever the person's character's name is, which I think we saw in the movie anyway. Ask about him. They tell him, no, he doesn't live here anymore. We rented the house. This is Roman Polanski's and his wife Sharon Tate's house. I think at that point Charles Manson knew who Roman Polanski was, and he knew that he was an upcoming actor. And if he's going to make a statement if he's going to start a race war, which is supposedly what he wanted to do, if he's going to start this helter-skelter dystopian reality that he wanted to create by having these murders where black people are going to start attacking white people and they were going to blame the Black Panthers and whatever crazy shit he had in his head, you know, they signified who they, you know, it wasn't, so it was not them, it was what they signified.
What they represented.
They represented, yeah. So it wasn't the house that he was after. It wasn't them that he was after. It was what they represented that he was after. And thought, okay, rich, snotty people, Hollywood people are going to blame the Black Panthers or something similar to that. And then the war would start. The race war would start, and he had this crazy idea that he can go underneath hiding, and then after the end of the world, he'll come out and he'll be the king of the world. The guy was fucking nuts.
Yeah, I guess in reality, they didn't even catch him until like a month later.
Or whatever it was, yeah.
But, yeah.
Anyway, I mean, artistically, it's a great movie. Story-wise, it's a great story. It's a great idea. I'm not so sure that it's getting, that is all of the love that it's getting. It's almost like Joker, where the ending justifies some of the stuff that he went through. Mm. Because the ending is so cool. The ending of Joker is so interesting. The whole idea of the Joker maybe creating Batman is an interesting idea. It's almost an alternate reality, if you will. Or laced in completely lunacy because of a crazy person's head, and maybe it was inside his head. So I'm not 100% sure that all of the love it's getting is because of the ending being so originally good and using what you know about him as a filmmaker and then going, no. Yeah, you're going to get this violence, but it's not the violence that happened. It's another violence, and you're going to be happy that you got this violence. You're going to be glad, and you're going to be cheering for these fuckers.
Yeah, you are.
Even though none of them did anything wrong yet. Technically, they just opened up the door and pointed a gun. Yeah, that's not exactly 100% kosher, but they hadn't done anything yet. And he sticks the dog at them, and he basically
that dog
went to town on Tex. That was great. There was a great line. I thought that was really, and I thought Brad Pitt did amazing in the scene when he says, "I know," because he recognized them from the ranch, and he says, "I know you." And I forgot your name, and then he says, What's your name?" And he says, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business," which is something that the real Tex said at the murder. When he says that, he looks at it and is like, nah, it was something more stupid than that, like Rex, and then he calls him Tex. The other lady calls him Tex. Yeah, Tex. and I saw you at the ranch, and you were in a horsey. I thought that was awesome. Well, he was high as shit. He was high. But it was great. That was an awesome scene, and you were in a horsey. It was great. But anyway, this is interesting. I hope that he does make another movie, and maybe that's what he's hinting at. This is an alternate reality, because all of his films are in the same universe. Is this an alternate universe that he's portraying? Is he going to do something else which changes history?
That is interesting. I didn't realize that his other movies were like that.
Well, no, those three movies are.
Okay.
Kill Bill is obviously something completely original, and Reservoir Dogs and Jackie Brown and you know, the Pulp Fiction and everything else is, but these are based on some historical frame. It's like making a movie, you know, with the backdrop is what happened on October 1st here in Vegas, or something to that effect. But it is, I like the movie. I love the ending. I'm not 100% that all of the love it's getting is warranted. But the ending is one of the best endings, and one of the best use of tension, and one of the best used of knowing that the audience knows who you are, and that the audience, that you have just held back on some of the action and some of the violence. I mean, sprinkled here and there, justifiably. Him beating up the guy that flattened his tire, he beat him up. I think that's the only violence. I mean, other than movie violence that they were having with the flamethrowers and all that junk and the shooting, all of that was fake violence.
And the thing with Bruce Lee.
And then get into the violence of what the real life is supposed to be, which is not really what happened. I thought that was brilliant. Because he's using what you know about him to... I had a sense of drought. I had a sense of dread when they're coming up with the gun to the house. Because we still don't know if they're going to go into the house.
One gun and 2 knives, I think.
But
the knives were looking... Yeah, well, Sharon Tate and them were all stabbed.
Yeah. But you're getting that... I had a sense of dread. Of like, oh no. I felt bad that she was going to die. I felt bad all of this thing was going to happen. And then, whoop, left turn. Or right turn, because he went to the right. Instead of going straight up to the house.
Okay, then I thought maybe that they were going to get themselves killed, but no.
No, they're the ones that survived. And
the bad guys died.
The bad guys died, and the bad guys are the ones that got their comeuppance.
Justice was served.
Yeah. I mean, what do you give this movie?
I'd give it a 4.
I think it's of all of the movies I've seen, it's just strange because I'm praising the movie. It is the worst. Maybe it's better than Kill Bill Volume 2. And maybe Reservoir Dogs. So maybe it's like the 3rd best movie that I've seen from Quentin Tarantino. So not knowing, some of the other movies that I haven't seen, Kill Bill, it is my favorite. Pulp Fiction, I love Pulp Fiction. I think those are 2 great movies. I've never seen Inglourious Basterds or Django Unchained, which I probably should watch them.
Django was very bloody.
But did you like that better than Django? Did you like this better than Django? Well, Django was bloody through the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I like Django better. But that was just because
more action.
Just more action.
Okay.
It just...
He just kept going and it just
it
wasn't boring.
No, yeah.
This one definitely has a lot of boring.
I think that's why I like Kill Bill as well.
Yeah.
I think Kill Bill also has a little bit of kind of
comedy,
dark humor.
Yeah, a lot of dark humor in it. This had a lot of dark humor in it.
Dark humor.
Like them, because he's laced with LSD. Going, are you real? He's laughing. That was such a funny. Like he's gonna go, oh shit, this is funny.
Yeah.
That was great.
The dog was very well trained. He was like, whoop, and yeah. And the dog went right for his nuts, I think.
No, he went for his arm, and then he went for his leg, and then he went for his nuts, and then he went for the other girl, and then the other girl flights outside. And I totally forgot that this, that was a great thing, because at the end, the girl crashes through a window, or through the door, into the pool, where he had established that that's where Leonardo DiCaprio's character was, listening to music on a stereo, so he didn't hear anything that's happening until he sees it and she stumbles upon him, which he then gets up, picks up the flamethrower, and barbecues her to death. And that was fucking hysterical. That was funny as shit.
Yeah.
And it was violence. Very violent.
But, like I said, if they would have had more... I don't know. I guess that's the thing with our justice system in the real world. I wish they would have been able to catch Sharon Tate's murderers instantaneously and pretty much got rid of them, but they didn't. Because in real life, they could just captured them and they stayed in prison for a while. Some have been released, and Manson, he went
forever.
Yeah.
He died in prison.
Yeah. So
no parole.
I'd rather have a little bit more.
This was a more satisfying ending.
It was more satisfying, definitely.
To the real ending, or to real life, or what happened. Yeah, this is definitely more satisfying. I agree. I concur. Anyway, I give it about 4 stars. I'm not so sure it is. I'm not so sure if it's going to be in my top 3.
No,
Not 100% sure if it's going to be in the top 3.
It'll be in my top 3.
But here's the funny thing is, I would not be offended or upset if it wins Best Movie or if it gets nominated for Best Movie. I will be upset if it pushes some movies or a movie particular, Ford versus Ferrari. If it pushes that one, like if that is nominated and Ford versus Ferrari is not, I will be upset. Because I thought Ford versus Ferrari was better. That's when I will be upset. I would not be upset if it got nominated. Because it was a good movie. It was boring in some parts, and it was self-indulgent in a lot of the movie with the scenes that he was making. But some of the scenes that he was making were very interesting. Shooting a film within a film and interacting there. You know what other great scene also that I liked a lot? And I think that scene was playing at the same time as the scene with the wrench, which was when he had the little girl with the gun in the movie or in the show, where he turned into this incredible performance, and like everybody praised him for it, including the little girl. And here he thought he was washed up, but he had one last great performance in him. But that scene was also, I believe it was interlaced with the tension of Brad Pitt's character in The Wrench and whether he could die in there. So you had a fake confrontation with a guy holding a girl hostage or something to that effect, and what it was the real world of real life tension. So it was interesting because a lot of the real stuff happened to Brad Pitt, which is his stunt double. The fake wins are by the actor, which I thought that was also very interesting, how they did that. And even the time that he does something crazy, it's a flamethrower, which is the most comical weapon you can have. It's just a gasoline thing that goes and kills everything. You can't get any more cartoonish than that, than a flamethrower in a movie. So I thought that was actually very interesting. Yeah. Anyway, definitely go see it. Or rent it, I guess, at this point. It's out on DVD, so rent it. It's a great movie. Anyway, good night, Bob. Where we are.